You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Hey everyone, welcome to Music Tectonics, the podcast where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm your host for this episode, Tristra Newyear Yeager, Director of Strategy at Rock Paper Scissors, the PR firm specializing in music innovation. Joining me today is Gérôme Vanherf. Oh my gosh, Jérôme, did I get your name right at all?
Perfectly.
No, you're being very gracious, but Jérôme is a true mover and shaker in the European music tech space. He's an investor at Leansquare and an instigator and startup whisperer at Wallifornia, and we'll hear more about what that is. But it's in part, it's a music tech summit that's held annually in Liège, Belgium, a really cool place. We'll hear also a little bit more about Liège. So Jérôme and his team are based there, but he's joining us today on the internets, and I'm really glad you could make it. Thanks so much, Jérôme.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be part of this awesome podcast.
Don't heap your praise on too soon here. But Jérôme, I'm sure my quick intro didn't do your work full justice at all. So can you give us a quick rundown of what you do?
Yes, sure. So I'm based in Belgium. As you can hear, I speak French. I have a big French accent. My main job is to work for a VC named Noshaq, Noshaq. And Noshaq is basically a fund of funds. So our mission is to invest in other funds. We are working for Noshaq. We are more than 80 people, and we invest in many sectors like biotech, life science, qualitative agri-food, industry 4.0, creative and cultural industries, etc., etc. Noshaq for now has already invested in more than 18 funds, and those funds invest themselves in companies. Myself, I'm part of one of those 18 funds, and the name of this fund is Leansquare, which invests in entertainment and tech companies. So we invest in music tech, sports tech, and esports tech. That's, I would say, my main job is to work for the fund. But as we are, and I can imagine it's a little bit weird for American guys, as what I will say is that we are partly public, partly private. So the money invested in the fund is partly from private companies and partly from public actors.
Can we stop a second? I'm really interested to explore that a little bit more. Is that a typical setup in Europe, or is that unique to what you do?
It's not unique and it's not typical. So we have some full private VCs in Europe. We have also some full public VCs, investors. I would say more investors in Europe, and we are a kind of a mix of those guys. So concerning this public part, as we are public-private, we have two main missions. First, yes, we are a fund and we have to be profitable. It's our part of our mission. We are a real VC, and our shareholders, like the public shareholders or the private shareholders, ask us to have profitability, like with every fund. But as we are public, we have a second mission, is to be part of the co-creation of entrepreneurial ecosystem in the sectors I named you in the introduction of this podcast. That's why in the sector we invest with Leansquare, we have developed an innovation platform, and that's Wallifornia, to connect the dots between the global music industry, the global sport industry, and the global esport industry with the innovators. Why are we doing this? Many reasons, but the many startups we met every day, they try to disrupt the music industry or the sport industry, and they try to do so without understanding the global value chains of those industries. And you know that as much as me, they are not very. They are very complicated industries, and so during the programs we organize with Wallifornia, so the acceleration programs, and also during the summit, our objective is to learn them and to help them to understand better the music industry, for example, when we speak about music, or the sports industry when we speak about sport. On the same time, we have also learned with our experience that the majority of the startups do not understand pretty well how to raise fund. So they raise fund too soon, too late with a too big valuation, or sometimes they raise fund and they don't need fund. So during our programs, we also try to explain them or think VC, what they need before, during, and after fundraising. So to summarize, we invest with Leansquare. With Wallifornia, it's an innovation platform to connect the dots and to learn startup or to work in the music industry, but also in the VC world. And finally, my last at is a place, La Grand Poste, where we organized Wallifornia 3 weeks ago. And it's where we permit the local entertainment tech ecosystem to gather to develop projects.
Wow, that's great. No wonder you're an incredibly busy man. So I'm really glad you took a few minutes to talk with us about all of this stuff. So I want to speak specifically about music innovation, since that is what our podcast is dedicated to, though I would love your insights about how any cross-pollination, any connections you see with esports and sports as well. But what is the music innovation scene like in Europe right now? Like as you think about what's happening in your corner of the world, what's it feel like? What's going on? What's the general vibe?
Okay, so first of all, we have decided with the fund to invest in 4 different kinds of technologies, and you will understand that we cover the majority of the technologies in the music industry. First, we are interested to invest in fan engagement technologies, so the technologies that helps artists, or not only artists, to be connected and to monetize the fan databases. We see a lot of them now, not only in Europe, startups developing tools in this field. First, secondly, as we are very connected with Les Ardentes, which is one of the biggest music festivals in Belgium. The last edition we had more than 200,000 attendees during the festival. So with those guys, we try also to check what are the innovations for festivals, so smart places. And you directly see the connection with the sport industry, because the technologies developed for festival or for gig rooms could be used also in stadiums or other places used in the sport industry. And definitively many innovation on these two. The third one is more around rights and data's monetization around that. And we know that there's a lot of challenges in the industry around the rights tech issues. And finally, we saw way more technologies on the market during COVID and after COVID. Those are the technologies around access to content. So broadcasting, streaming, curation, and also technologies like metaverses, etc., etc. Maybe. When we received this year the application on the acceleration program, so we received more than 150 applications from, I think, around 30 countries on our acceleration program. We selected 12 of them for the program, but I can say that there is a trend, but not only in Europe, it's a global trend around blockchain, NFTs, and metaverse. Some of them were great. Some of them, I will never say they were not great, because all entrepreneurs are great, but maybe not useful directly for the music industry. But what we saw with NFTs is that some of them had real values for artists or for festivals or for the global music industry. Other ones, we directly saw that it was we do that only to make money in the short term. And for us, it's very important when we invest in a company or when we help a company to have a positive impact on the industry and a qualitative impact. So qualitative, positive is the same, but a long-term impact on the industry. That's why, yes, the trend is global trend. Yes, NFTs, metaverse, it's really important, but it's still a kind of buzzword right now, and we still need to see what will be the next big thing in this field. On the other side, also, we discussed with many actors from the music industry, and not only in Europe. And many of those actors, like labels, managers, festivals, they told us, okay, it's great to see what's happening now in metaverse and NFTs, and we need to see what's happening, and we need to be connected with those guys because we want to work with those technologies. But they all say that we also need to be connected or to check if, I would say, unsexy technologies exist in the field. I would say data analysis for the crowd in a festival, rights tech. I don't like to say it's unsexy, but it's not sexy like NFTs and metaverse. If you understand what I mean.
Absolutely.
And so definitively the music industry is more looking for, I would say, into parentheses, unsexy technologies than only sexy technologies.
Yeah, there's some long-standing problems that that the newest, coolest, shiniest thing won't necessarily address or won't address fully. So it's a very good point. I'm wondering if you could help. Most of our listeners tend to be in the U.S. and or in North America, and I'm wondering if you can help. I mean, as someone who is so connected globally, if you can help us understand what's a little bit different about the way things work in Europe versus other parts of the US. And when you brought up NFTs, that makes me think specifically about the regulatory environment and just any other sort of regional challenges or differences or positive sides that you think are interesting.
Yeah. So first, in terms of investment, I will not say it's global, but we see a big difference between the stages when startup raise fund. For example, when we say in Europe you are in the seed stage, it's more your Series A. When we use startups say we are in seed, in Europe we are more pre-seed. For example, us with Leansquare, we invest in startup in seed stage, and it is with existing revenues. And many startups we see coming from the US asking us, would you be interested to invest in us? The majority is saying that they are in seed stage, they have no revenues yet. I don't say it's good or bad or better in the US or better in Europe.
Just a cultural difference that's significant.
It's just the vocabulary.
Fascinating. That's cool.
Another thing very important in the Europe, specifically when you are around databases, etc., is that we have our GDPR. I don't know if you know the GDPR.
Oh, yeah.
Legal stuff. And in Europe, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
And so you cannot do everything you want with the data in Europe. I'm pretty sure you read some papers on medias in the US that it's complicated in Europe around that. So when you come and you want to develop stuff around fan engagement, pay attention or rights, etc., that you cannot do everything you want with data in Europe.
That's really interesting. Yeah. How are people solving that? Are they just changing the way their product works, or are there some kind of safeguards or something in place? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So it's every case is different, but first of all, no, the GDPR is not new. So no, every new startup knows that it exists. So if they don't know that, it's not normal. But if they existed, if the West already existed, they have to change their product. Yes, maybe something different in Europe, but you know that, and it's complicated in Europe when you try to enter a market. Is that we speak many different languages, and not everyone.
You don't all speak English? What? No.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And you have to translate your platform, your tool in different languages. Yes, in the innovation world, everyone is speaking English. But when you try to connect even with companies, customers, B2B, or with the B2C world, not everyone is speaking English. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy because if you want to enter a market and to go to 5 different countries, you have to know that you have maybe to translate it in different languages.
And not even translate it, but sort of rethink it and reframe it sometimes, because there are some pretty significant cultural differences across Europe, right? It's not just, I'm going to turn this from Spanish into German. It's like, how will a Spanish user approach this versus a German user? It could be very different.
And for example, it's not to sell my country, Belgium, but Belgium is a small country in the middle of Europe. But in our small country, so very small, 10 million people, so it's not big, we speak 3 different languages. Dutch, German, and French. And so when an entrepreneur in Belgium tries to develop something inside a country, directly it's a kind of small Europe. And so he can test what he or she's doing in a small country before going further in other countries in Europe.
Oh, that's cool. So you're saying that Belgium is like the ultimate beta test, beta testing ground. That's really cool. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for filling us in on that. We're going to take a really quick break, and then we'll be back with more from Jérôme of Wallifornia.
Does your company belong at the center of the conversation about music, tech, and innovation? Listen, you should consider sponsoring the Music Tectonics Conference. It takes place in person October 25th through the 27th, 2022, in the Music Tech Hub of Los Angeles. Top-tier sponsorships are selling fast, but we still have a spot for you, whether your business is a hungry startup or an industry leader already. Every sponsorship level comes with an exhibitor booth at the Loews Santa Monica Beach Hotel on October 26th, the main conference hub for keynotes and panels. Your company will be at this epicenter of music, tech, and innovation throughout the event. That's just one perk of being a sponsor at Music Tectonics. You could be a guest on this podcast or even play a role in conference programming. Interested? Let's talk. Go to musictectonics.com to start the conversation with our contact form. And now, back to the show.
Hey, we're back with Jérôme from Wallifornia and Leansquare, and he is talking to us today about music innovation in Europe and all of the crazy and cool things that go along with that. So one question that I was always thinking about as I was walking around at Wallifornia is there seems to be so many connections between European, American, and also other global entrepreneurs and people in the space. However, we can always do better, right? There's always more bridges we can build. And I'm wondering, as someone who has been involved in building those bridges for, decades, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about how U.S. companies could prepare themselves better to work with EU investors or fellow innovators, collaborators. What could bring us closer together? What could we do to make the environment even more friendly for cross-cultural collaboration?
You mean between Europe and the US, correct?
Yeah, specifically. Okay. I mean, that's just, I'm just being the typical American focused on America, but that would be great if you could speak to that.
With one language. So it's a luck to have that. It's a chance.
Yeah, that we're all thinking our own crazy thoughts here, but...
Yeah, sure. First, I would say if you're okay with that, on the opposite, if an American startup or partner would like to enter the European market, we have created, and the majority of them were at Wallifornia 3 weeks ago, we have created a kind of innovation platform named Music Tech Europe with 10 countries, musictecheurope.org. And if you want to have information on certain market in Europe, definitively Music Tech Europe is the people to contact. For example, in Belgium, I am the guy with Coralie. If you want to have some connections in Belgium, but if you want to have some connection in Sweden, in Norway, in France, in Germany, in Spain, in Greece, in Italy, I named it. Those guys are the Music Tech guys from their own countries. So if you want to enter the market, do not hesitate to contact us. That's our job, to help you to be in contact with the best people on the right time. On the opposite, I think definitively we could do the same to create connections. First of all, Tristra, some awesome guys from US who are at Wallifornia, is trying to have more people from Europe in your events, like in Music Tectonics Summit, etc., etc. I think that could be a good idea, because that as much as better as me is that, yes, we can do a lot of great stuff online, but the real trust is created when you see people in real.
Absolutely.
When you drink a beer, a glass of wine, or just a cup of coffee, and it's important. So I think creating bridges between events could be great. First, On the opposite, I think creating also a point of contact in the US, like we are doing with you, like also I'm doing with a guy like John Sozaro from Idatic Ventures, and other great people in the US, is when a European startup would like to enter the market, and I know that it's a global market, but you have many states, and all states are different in the US, is maybe having some, not a lot, but some point of contact that could help European startup to ask the question to those guys to enter the American market. So for that's, I think, quick wins. On the same time, creating some, yes, music tectonics. Yes, we have Wallifornia Music Summit, but maybe try to create some meetups together, online meetups. And not only, I would be very happy. It's a proposition to have a kind of content around music tech and Europe inside Music Tectonics. On the opposite, it would be great to have during Wallifornia Music Tech Summit an overview by you guys on the American market. There are many ideas. You begin to know me, Tristra.
Yeah.
But it's great to have a big vision and to try to create many stuff. But let's begin with some stuff concrete.
Yes.
And let's do it together.
Well, that's really great. And you heard it here, folks. It's happening in real time on this podcast. The bridge is being built, and hopefully we'll meet in the middle over the Atlantic somewhere. This is super cool. And I really love what you're saying, Jérôme, that to find local guides, for lack of a better way to put it, people who are willing and able and have sort of chosen to take on the mantle of I'll be your Virgil. I will walk you through this market and help you figure out what to do in Spain or Greece or Germany. That's a really, really great piece of advice. And I think most folks in the US aren't even aware that these organizations exist. So we'll put some more info in the show notes too, to help people start to learn about the Music Tech Europe kind of network, because that's really exciting for Americans. There's not one central place to go really here, and we don't have that private-public partnership as strong and as intertwined as many European places do.
Yeah, and maybe if I can add something.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship in tech, and not only in tech, and not only in music tech, before being around technology, it's around people.
Absolutely.
As a fund, before checking the technology or the market, we check the people in the companies, because it's all around execution. But also when we create partnership like we are doing, this discussion, it's always all around people. And so creating bridges between the continent, between also the states, like we are doing between the countries in Europe, for us, it's really important, specifically in the creative and cultural industry, to do so, because they are not always used to entrepreneurship and to technologies, and it's always you have the same kind of job than mine. Oh, did you met this guy, or did you meet this woman? You have to discuss with him or her, and that's where the real magic is created.
And that's also one of the most fun parts of our jobs, I would argue. And when something cool comes of that, it's one of the best things in the world. So we're going to take another super quick break, and we'll be right back.
Whoa, the ideas are flying fast on this episode. If you want to follow up on anything we're talking about today, we've made it easy. Head over to musictectonics.com and find this episode on the podcast page. You'll see show notes full of links and a time-stamped roadmap of the conversation. We're not responsible for internet rabbit holes you tumble down in the process. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Hey, we're back with Jérôme of Wallifornia and Leansquare and many, many other projects and ideas. Jérôme, now this is my favorite part of the podcast. I get to ask the guest, which is you, of course, for a really, to basically go through an exercise in imagination. You can get a little sci-fi. You can think about this however you want. But my favorite thing to hear about is, so let's just say it is 10 or maybe even 50 years from now. What is your ideal music-related tech dream world? You're there right now. And what does it look, sound, feel like? What do you think people will be experiencing in a decade or half a century? What things do you see now that you would love to see develop and grow and blossom in the future?
Okay.
Yeah, threw that one out at you, sorry.
No problem. So first of all, and it's not specifically on tech, but I will give you content about tech after. I really hope that in 20 years, we will still go to festivals, to gig rooms, drink beer with friends during a concert, because for me that's really important, and that's the music industry. And also continuing having new stuff from artists to listen at home when you are cool at home and when you have some friends to listen to music. So for me, I know we have already that now. It's not the future, but for me, I really hope that it will be still the case in the future, and I'm really sure it will be the case. Concerning the next big thing and the future, it's not easy. It's not an easy exercise, but I still think that metaverse, NFTs are buzzword. Even we are seeing great innovation for now, specifically now these years for the music industry. But I think that we will have more experiences than just going to concert thanks to metaverse, and that we have a kind of second experience, an addition to the real concern, and more connections, more direct connections with artists. Yes, we know that now that's the objective, but it's not already the case that you have yes, you can discuss with your artist in social medias, but it's not always easy for them to discuss with all their fans. More connections, direct connection with fans, thanks to metaverse, but also I think more, can I say that, more redistributed revenues for artists to help them to create the business, because we all know that a small part of the artists earn money to live, and the majority it's not possible. So I think that blockchain NFT would help that, and I really hope it will work. It will work, I'm pretty sure. But for me, it's important to keep this real life stuff, because the music is experience, is magic, is feelings with artists, with friends during a concert. I don't know if I answered the question.
You
it's
did
not
perfectly.
The next big thing.
Yeah.
And if I can add another stuff, for me, definitively, entrepreneurs know, if I can advise them some stuff, please don't all go into those NFTs and metaverse. There are a lot of challenges in the next years for all the value chains of the music industry, not only artists, not only festivals, not only labels, all the industry. And they need innovation, because some of them are too bigger or too small to develop that themselves. And not everything is inside the big tech or deep tech, and they need. I'm pretty sure you can develop a business that will have a big impact in 10 years now in, I would say, unsexy tech.
So let's talk about the future of unsexy tech. Where let's not think 50 years in the future where we'll all be, I don't know, eating carbon burgers and floating around or whatever in our spacesuits, kind of crazy futurist stuff. Let's talk a bit about, like, in 10 years, where do you hope this unsexy tech will take the music business?
It's always complicated. During the Axel Sen program, we had many discussions for the startup between festival organizers. We had the programmator of Les Ardentes. We have some guy we had the CEO from Sonar, and they all said that yes, for them, it's a new way of seeing what they are doing with metaverse and with NFTs. Yes, they are checking that, but they all need, and I speak on myself, they all need more. They have a lot of data. They don't know what to do with those data. I know some startups have a lot of stuff to do with that. I can say around ticketing, around food and beverage sales, around security on stage, and all the crowd stuff doing big festival. And they have a lot of information, and they know that they can do stuff with that to sell more tickets, to give more detail for the sponsors, for the artists, but also to have a more safety festival. For example, during a big festival, there are some problems around health, and also not a lot, but some bad men with women. I don't know.
And
all because when you are in a festival, that's all that's for everyone. You are in a kind of bubble in a festival. You are not in the real world. You are in a kind of bisounours. I can say that bisounours. I don't know if you know the word, but it's a cartoon. And you are with your friend, and you are not so aware as you are in your city, walking in the street. And they need to, the organizers, they need to keep those festivals a kind of secure place. So I've said a lot of stuff around festival organizers. I don't say it's not sexy tech. It's important tech
for
those guys to organize a secure but also profitable festival.
Yeah, it's tough to even know who is in the mosh pit or in your room sometimes as a promoter or a festival organizer. I mean, just because someone bought a ticket, you don't know who else, maybe they bought 5 tickets, and who are the other 4 people there? What do they want? Who are they? What do they need? Are they safe? Those are all really great questions. And, it would be great to find some data-driven ways to help promote better behavior at festivals and, prevent major incidents and also let people have more fun.
And yes, more fun. And if I can add another example, but I can name you a lot of examples, CMOs. So in Belgium, Sabam, we have SACEM in France, you know those guys.
Yeah.
They all have also a lot of data.
Oh yeah, they have
and they
all
know
the data.
That, they are developing great stuff, but that's not specifically their job to innovate. They do that. For example, SACEM has just developed the SACEM Lab. That's a great initiative. And yes, when you are a young entrepreneurs, you want to go to the sexy tech part. But guys, please, yes, you can do so. I don't say you don't have to do that. But those guys, so the music industry needs also unsexy tech.
I love it. It's this podcast has been a plea for international understanding and unsexy tech innovation. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jérôme, for taking the time out from your 10,000 plates that you have spinning to come and talk with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thanks for listening to Music Tectonics. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We have new episodes for you every week. Did you know? You can dig deeper into all our episodes with the show notes at musictectonics.com. While you're there, look for the latest about our annual conference, sign up for our newsletter to get updates, or get the Music Tectonics app for music tech news. Everything we do explores seismic shifts that shake up music and technology the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and find me, Dimitri Vitsa, if you can spell it, on LinkedIn. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.